And then we come to the pick data type. The data type is important because the data type can determine what kind of applications and what type of data you can process using the peak learning technologies. Peak learning technology provides two kinds of data type, the scalar type and the compressed data type. And the scalar type includes the int, bool, float, char array, and byte array. And the compressed type includes fields, tuples, relations, and bags. And this kind of type have some corresponding concept in a relational database. For example, a field is a piece of data, and it's similar to the field in a relational database table. And a tuple is an ordered set of fields. It's similar to a row in relational data sets. And relation is similar to a table or view in relational database. So that you can, if you take database classes, and you will more easier help you to understand the basic concept of peak learning technology. And here we come to the peak operations. We will cover the most common one, the loading data, projection, grouping, dump, and aggregation. And we will cover them one by one in detail. First, we go to the peak data loader. And peak provides some library, such as peak storage, that can load and store relations using field delimited text field. And these delimited symbols include the tab, semicolon, or comma. And you can load the text file with this library and spread the data and load the data from the disk to the memory and with specific data schema. In this example, we load input data named students, and it consists of several lines. Each of lines represent some information of specific students. And we use the peak storage library and format and create a data schema. The first field of the data schema is the student ID. The second one is a name. It's not matched here. There is some issue, exception. So the age is not described in the student's text, and then followed by the GPA. So with this library, it's very convenient to load the data from disk to the memory with specific data schema, and you do not need to implement the same program again. And there's other data loader, like text loader as well. And we go to the for each generator. For each is very common in peak learning statements. It's similar to select in SQL queries. The for each can generate statements iterator through the members of back. It's just similar to select to go through each recorder of the table or the view of table in relational database. Then we come to the positional reference. The fields can be referred by the position notation defined within the system or the name, the alias. Here is an example. The input data is the same. We have the student's input file, the name, the age, the GPA. So the data type is, we illustrated in previous slides, the char array, the int, the float, represent different meaning of the fields in the table. And the point here is that you can use the positional notation like the dollar followed by the digit. Usually it starts from the 0. So dollar plus 0 represents the first position notation of the input data table schema, and then followed and so on. Here is the group statements in peak operation. Group is basically to collect some records and by within the same key. And there's group and co-group operator. They are basically the same. The difference is that the group is usually to group the relation, group one relation, while the co-group can be used to operate more than one relations. And we will go to the dump and store statements. These two statements is used to deal with the output data. The dump operator is used to display the output result to the screen, while the store statement is used to dump the results to the disk. The first one is useful for debug. The third one is used for when you want to have some permanent storage for output results. And we count. This is peak count. It just counts the number of records within the relations. This is order, just order the records within a relation. Here is how to run the peak loading scripts we illustrated in previous slides. And so here is the detailed scripts. You can use the peak, -x, and local. This is local mode, and followed by your peak statements file. And this is MapReduce mode, followed by the peak statements. And this is iterative mode. One handy usage of iterative mode that you can input peak statements line by line and get result immediately. This is useful for debug purpose. And here's the hands-on for the word count use peak loading. And so Steven already make some job to set up the sandbox and have some software stack installed in the sandbox, including Hadoop, HBase, and Peak, and other applications as well. So if you guys want to go through those examples, you can reuse those environments set up in the morning. And we will just reuse Steven's environment. And here is the batch mode. You can submit the peak loading statements with peak -x and local, followed by the word count peak statements. And in the iterative mode, you can input the peak statements line by line and get the output results. Here is the specific illustration of the peak loading statements for the word count application. This is load. We already illustrated these statements, and then followed by for each. It just goes through, iterates through each recorder of the relations of the peak loading statement of the data sets, and it then uses the threaten and tokenize statements to make some further operation to each line of the input data sets. The tokenize will split the string line with specific delimited text symbol like a tab, semicolon, or comma. The threaten will use to remove the nested back of the peak loading data sets, and then followed by the group by. Let's just group the records with the same keyword, and then you can use the for each to go through the bag. So the bag can be element, the single element processed by the for each statement, and then followed by the count to just to count the number of records. This is the illustration.